Today's episode of Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Castalia Cocktails. Don't just drink cocktails, experience them. With matching scents and knowledgeable bartenders to guide you, it's a great experience. Try one of their pairings or feel free to go off the menu with an adventure for your senses. The menu both tells you how boozy a drink is, and there is a full non-alcoholic lineup, taking care to give you a top-notch sensory experience no matter how you'd like to drink. Whether it's the intimate indoor bar with less than 20 seats or on the patio outside, enjoying the best Detroit has to offer, Castalia is a great spot for a night out, a drink after dinner, or a date. They're open to all Wednesdays through Saturdays from 5 to 11 p.m. with a possibility for unique experiences for small groups anytime with a reservation. You can learn more at CastaliaCocktails.com. That's CastaliaCocktails.com. Make sure to support the businesses that support us and stop on by. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friday. It is September 29th, 2023. I am Jer Stays. This is your Daily Detroit. And Devon O'Reilly, it wouldn't be Friday without you.
It really wouldn't be, Jer. I'm happy to be here. I've got coffee in hand that I think is going to really help with our conversation today as we're kind of teasing the theme here. But it is pumpkin spice season, right?
I was going to say, since that pumpkin spice cold brew we had, how have you been feeling about this? Have you embraced pumpkin spice season? What are your thoughts? Was this a changing moment for you?
I mean, this weather has really been back and forth. It's gone from like 80 degrees to 65. I think today we're really in a pumpkin spice season. Actually, I was at Atwater yesterday, the original Atwater on Atwater Street in Rivertown area, up on the rooftop, and I was having a pumpkin spice latte beer that they have at Atwater. It's not bad.
You're team pumpkin spice now.
Yeah, I mean, 'tis the season. I mean, you got to just embrace it. I mean, matter of fact, I ordered myself some, they call it pumpkin spice cake Nespresso pods.
Oh.
I have those now. It's quite a kick. So I'm full into it, Jer. I mean, I'm unabashedly pumpkin spice. Why not? We have such a small window to enjoy it.
There you go. See, if you view it as seasonal, I feel like that's part of the whole game, like with spring, everything else. And of course, this is a little bit of a tease because later in the show, today is National Coffee Day. And that means we're going to be talking about your favorite coffee shops. I put a call out there. We're going to get to that in just a minute. But first, I want to share a couple places where I've been. I didn't have the chance to talk to Fletcher or Norris about them, in part because I wanted to save them for you from my trip from Chicago last week.
All right, Jerry. Yeah, let's hear it. Love to talk about it.
Okay, first thing. The reach of Detroit culture is amazing because I am in Ukrainian Village. I am going to this Dark Matter coffee shop. I get in there, and oh my gosh, it is literally Parliament Funkadelic funk themed. It is 7 a.m, and I am listening to Give Up the Funk in a coffee shop with UFOs hanging from the ceiling, and I am so here for it. If you don't know, if you're a younger listener, George Clinton was a writer for Motown. He recorded some of his work, his big work, at United Sound Studios right there near Tech Town, right over there by I-94 in the Midtown area. So I love seeing that culture, and I was wearing my Detroit City FC shirt, and it was like, oh my gosh, you're from Detroit. It was a very cool moment, and I just got to say, I want to see that kind of funk here where it's from. I want to see Detroit appreciate all this kind of music. I mean, I loved getting coffee. I looked over. This place is open 12 hours a day, starting at 6 a.m, and there are glitter stage shoes on the wall. I was all about it.
Sounds like a visual shot of espresso, basically, is what you're saying. People talk about Motown, and obviously that we're the birthplace of Motown, but at the same time, we also are the birthplace of techno. I learned from Jeanette Pierce, our friend, that we're also the birthplace of punk music. So there's so many different musical styles and genres that either originated out of Detroit or really kind of got their feet in Detroit.
Yeah, and if anyone can point me in the direction of a funk coffee shop here, or if Dark Matter wants to do their thing, I mean, I'd be all for it. This is, it was a lot of fun. I actually posted something up on Instagram about it. The other thing I did, it had a Detroit tie. You remember the words about that Fabio Viviani restaurant that was supposed to be coming to town?
Vaguely, Jer. I mean, it's been caught up in all of the other openings and new things going on. I think I need a refresher, and I think listeners need a refresher.
Okay, so this is what's going to be going into the old Calexico space, which I knew was near and dear to your heart.
Oh yeah, Calexico. Oh my God. I think I realized that I was Calexico's biggest fan when it closed because it seemed like I was the only one mourning the loss. It used to be so close to me, but yes, I love that space. So I did hear something was going in there, but I can't even recall, Jerry, now what exactly it is.
It will be a Fabio Viviani concept. Now, Fabio is like a TV chef. He was in Top Chef in like 2008. He's got a whole series of restaurants as part of this. And I tried Siena Tavern in Chicago. Now, since then, I have learned that we are getting a bar cacchetti, which is also Italian, but more of the shared plate situation. So this isn't a one-for-one. Bar cacchetti is actually in Columbus in Oklahoma, and we'll be coming to that space. That's according to their information. But when it comes to trying out what is Fabio Viviani restaurant service like, I went to Siena Tavern. It was in downtown Chicago, and I gotta say, if they deliver anywhere near what Siena Tavern did, this place is gonna kill it in downtown Detroit. Like, a lot of people will like this place.
I love hearing that. Is it lunch and dinner type of situation? Happy hour, I feel like.
Yeah. And of course, like, Italian is the big theme for everything. And between a lasagna, cacio e pepe, couple of drinks and whatever, dinner for two was less than $100, which is a great price point for what you were getting. And, you know, it's more accessible. Like, there's some places now in the city of Detroit, you're going to spend $200-$300. This is one where you can go in and maybe visit it a little bit more regularly. You know, there's going to be pizzas and things, so you could definitely spend less than that. And I believe Bar Cacchetti actually has stuff on the menu a little bit less expensive, but it's more of the shared plates thing. But again, if the service, if the quality is executed the same or anywhere near it, I'm actually going to be looking forward to Bar Cacchetti.
All right. Well, then that makes two of us. I'm loving what I'm hearing about the concept. It seems like somewhere I'd want to go. You know, we talk a lot about the lunch crowd and how there's a lack of good places to go for lunch. So I hope that'll be a lunch spot, a happy hour spot, certainly a dinner spot. There's a lot of people downtown looking for a place like that to go to. So I'm very much welcoming them. Do we have an opening date yet, or are they giving us a general idea?
No, I have heard nothing on that. I mean, you know,
Okay.
it's the constant thing of when will it open? When will the date be? It's kind of the magical Detroit development game.
Well, Jer, I will anoint myself and say that I'll get down on the street because that's not too far from my office. So I'm just gonna walk that beat every day and just poke my head in the window, and I will be the one to tell you when it's getting ready to open.
I appreciate you staying by your post, even though you've, moved off the block. Because before, you probably could have set up like one of those creepy cameras and just like watched it.
Just 24-hour surveillance on Bar Cacchetti. I could have done that, but no. At the very least, I can stop by there a few times a week and ask who's ever standing around if they know when it's opening.
Now, we did talk about a bunch of things with downtown Detroit last week. We got a lot of feedback. I'm going to pause that until next week because we're still getting feedback. Still getting people's thoughts. I think next week we'll dive into it more. So know that we didn't ignore that conversation from last week, but we're still getting all the feedback. I mean, we got, nearly 30 pieces of feedback on this one already. So I'm going to get all of that together and we're going to sit down and like actually focus on it next week. For now, we're going to celebrate National Coffee Day. And what I did was I put it out to listeners, and we got a lot of people who had thoughts on what their favorite coffee shops were in Metro Detroit. And the list is varied. It's all over the place. It's geographically spread. I feel like I learned a lot about our listeners too in this. I've got a bunch of comments here and data. Before we get started, Devon, what's your favorite coffee shop in Metro Detroit?
Oof, Jer, I will not be forced into giving one answer, but I'm going to try and keep it as quick as possible because to me, it's like saying, what's your favorite bar? It's like, well, what do you want? Where are you? That type of situation. So for me, I want to hand out 3 roses since we're in Golden Bachelor season. I'm going to hand out 3 roses.
I actually watched Golden Bachelor last night.
I didn't watch it, but I've heard it's very interesting. So my 3 roses. In Dearborn, Awa House, they really started that Yemeni coffee revolution, the explosion that we talked about. Awa House in West Dearborn's big open space. You can kind of hang out. You can work from there. It's really, really great atmosphere. And then the coffee, as we've talked about, is just amazing. It's just not like anything else out there. Then downtown, I think Roasting Plant, for my money, is the best just coffee, like the richness, the flavor. Maybe it's because it's fresh roasted, but I just love me some Roasting Plant coffee. So that's my weekday fuel. And then finally, anyone who listens to the show for any period of time knows my favorite places in the world are the types of places where you can kind of do this or that. So place where you can get coffee, get a drink, get some food. That used to be the old Great Lakes for me, but thank God we have the Congregation, because I just love everything about what they're doing at the Congregation. Just hang out. You want a coffee, you want to chase that with a cocktail, you want to have a beer, have a espresso martini. They got it all. They have an amazing atmosphere. So those are my 3 roses for coffee.
Well, I will say that the Congregation came up with a lot of people.
I bet. Love the vibe. I mean, it's just unbeatable. Love those types of places. I hope there's more of them. Like I said, Great Lakes. I know Red Hook is still getting its feet in the Midtown location. Would love to see them add a drink program. I assume they have a liquor license from the previous iteration, but I would love to see more places like that. How about you, Jared? Do you have a rose that you want to give out, or do you want to get into listener feedback?
Welcome to the Bachelor Coffee Detroit. I have multiple ones I could give out, but I will say that Cafe Souterre is a really nice vibe as far as a recent opening. I got to agree with everyone on Congregation. Like, I can't deny how good Congregation is, especially because of the vibe and everything that they do for the community and events that they hold. They've really become a linchpin in the community. There's just so many. So I'll give 2 roses this time. I'll be a little bit further in the season.
Okay.
Should we start with what was by far the most popular coffee shop among our listeners?
Okay, I'd love to hear that.
It's Drifter Coffee in Ferndale. By far.
Interesting. I haven't actually been to Drifter, but I have had their coffee multiple times because they have a mobile operation, and it is very good.
Yeah. People really like the vibe. They really like the inclusiveness. That's something that listener Karen talked about. And that the tomato jam also is very good over there. But Drifter Coffee over and over again. So that's someplace maybe I need to make sure to tell them. Because actually, I've met her before, the owners over there, and I've stopped in occasionally over the years. And I didn't realize, like, that's a big thing for our listeners. Another one that's a big one for listeners, Dessert Oasis and all of their locations.
Ooh, good one. I love the Capitol Park location. That is another that I hit multiple times a week.
Many people were sure to say don't sleep on their stuff in the suburbs too, your Royal Oak and others, because it's a pretty nice experience for them. Madcap in downtown Detroit came up a lot.
Interesting. I don't mind Madcap, but I find it very like sparse, and there's not a lot of like seating.
So to me, it's grab and go, and I feel like it's the Apple Store of coffee shops.
The aesthetic is Apple Store. So I'm not the biggest Madcap fan. I just don't feel like I can hang out there. I mean, there's plenty of places to grab and go, so it doesn't become a destination where I'm like, I got to go walk to Madcap to get some coffee. But clearly, they're putting out some good product.
For sure. James Oliver came up like 3 or 4 times. That's over in Corktown. That was a big one for people.
Get yourself a good bagel too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what they stand out for in some ways, if you ask me. Cafe 1923, the old standby in Hamtramck.
I love that one. Yes, very old school coffee spot. You know what I mean? Like, it reminds me of like, the Friends coffee shop, Central Perk, as it were, where it's like, the comfy chairs and all that. I love the vibe.
Well, and for you, it seems like you really value a coffee shop where you can actually like stop for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, to me, you might as well just go to Starbucks or something. I mean, I don't mind a place that has a quick operation, but for me, it's like if I'm going to a coffee shop, I want to hang out there. I'll take a meeting there. I love taking meetings at coffee shops, and I do it often. So, yeah, I love a place you can hang out a bit, and it's not just like a grab and go window, because otherwise, you can go anywhere.
And of course, all the Red Hooks. That came up a lot.
All the Red Hooks.
All the Red Hooks.
Which I for the first time, I went to the newest Red Hook on the Dennis Archer Senior Greenway over there. Really cool space. I hadn't seen it before, Jerry. And matter of fact, I noticed, I was there very early in the morning, but I noticed that they have wine too. They've got a little wine bar. So they check my box for that.
We'll get you on the east side, even just a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I venture there a little bit, Jer. When you do as much about towning as me, you get around there. I also want to mention, I happened to run into a listener the other day, and we were talking coffee, and he wanted to mention, listener Joel wanted me to shout out Craig's Coffee, which I hadn't been to yet.
I haven't been to that one either.
Yeah, over on Peterborough Street. Only in the last few months that they've opened. They're a Motor City Match recipient. Listener Joel was telling me he knows the guys who run it, and it's just really, really good stuff, like really well-sourced coffee. So I'm going to check out Craig's Coffee over on Peterborough, but that was a listener suggestion in person.
Next time I run out and do some stuff, I know that their hours are kind of limited because it's just the owner running it. So it's kind of more of a weekend vibe, but I will make sure to swing by and check that out because I'm always up for a new coffee shop. Some other strong ones that people were coming up with was the Gather in kind of Milwaukee Junction.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's Milwaukee Cafe as well. Then some other ones I want to mention. Espresso Elevado in Plymouth came up from a couple people. I've not been there. In fact, a couple of people said that I really need to go to Plymouth and check out some of the coffee shops, so that I will. 320 Coffee and Creamery in Midtown. I think that one I think has locations in the shipping container and then also over by Warren and Cass.
Yeah, they got the nitro ice cream, which I've had.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Red Dot Coffee Company in Northville. If you're looking for a latte with luscious foam, according to Elsa.
I've been to Red Dot. That's a really good spot. Again, checks the boxes of great hangout. It's in like an big old house. So really cool spot at Red Dot.
Amy and a couple others stand for New Order.
Now, I haven't been since the Midtown location closed.
Yeah. That one's going to be more, I want to say, isn't there one in Sinclair Shores?
Yeah, they were the ones with the cereal milk lattes, if I recall.
Listener Karen is all about Rosa in Grandmont Rosedale for the vibe in the neighborhood.
Yes, shout out Charity Dean, her coffee shop. That's a really good spot over there in that neighborhood.
David is a fan of Haraz coffee near his work. He says he loves the flavors of Yemeni coffee and ginger and cardamom.
I'm telling you, this Yemeni coffee, if listeners are like, all the coffee shops you mentioned are fantastic, but I'm telling you, like, you can't necessarily discern like that different of a flavor, but when you have Yemeni coffee, it's like totally different. I can't stress enough how people should try this coffee. Just even if they hate it, it's like something so different. So yes, Haraz is another great one. 2
different listeners in Sylvan Lake. One is all for Ellen's in Sylvan Lake. They say it's a great place to stop for coffee and breakfast for a fall bike ride on the Clinton River Trail. So thank you for that tip, Carly. Sam is about Local Acre Java. She says it's really good, organic, clean, chemical-free coffee served out of a Sprout shop in Sylvan Lake. So 2 Sylvan Lake shout-outs. I did not know our reach out there.
Out where? Where is Sylvan Lake, Jer? I'm going to put you on the spot. Where is Sylvan Lake? Or is it north? Is it west?
Sylvan Lake is going to be up to the left of Bloomfield Township.
Oh, wow.
So if I do directions from the north end.
A couple city boys like us, we just, that's out there, man.
It's a reminder of how far this show can reach. It's a half an hour out.
From you? Okay.
Yeah. Half an hour out.
A little farther for me, but yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So good to see that, and always glad to have, all the listeners. Motor City Java, because of Alicia and Artist Village, that's from, you can know who that's from. That's from Jeanette Pierce. I'm just going to say the full name, because of course,
we already mentioned her once in this program. So.
Right. I will say that not a favorite spot yet, but one listener says, I'm looking forward to Encarnacion opening in West Village, over by Indian Village.
Wow, that's a nice little tip. I did not know that was happening.
Yeah. Black Cat Coffee in Mount Clemens from listener Jason.
Have not been, but I know listener Jason wants us to get to Black Cat Coffee. I know this, Jer.
I got to get out there.
I know. We do. We really do.
Yeah, I will make it out.
We're gonna have Jason host us, right? If we go out there, we gotta have him host us. He's a loyal listener, and he loves himself some Mount Clemens. So
Kate says the best lattes are at Stella at the Fisher Building.
Ooh, yeah. I haven't been there in a while, but I used to go to Stella quite a bit. Very new wave hipster type of coffee shop situation, but really, really cool. And then you have a great atmosphere. You can just drink coffee in the Fisher Building, which is fantastic.
Chris is for Coffee Down Under on Shelby. Got a couple votes for that too.
Shout out Tarun. We're just going to do shout outs on the show, Jared. Coffee shout outs. Yes, Coffee Down Under Tarun. Australian, that's something different. Tarun has a really cool program, coffee program that he runs out of that Coffee Down Under space. And it was birthed out of his travels to Australia and how their coffee is done a little bit differently. So definitely check them out.
I'll end it with one of our listeners who actually has an Airbnb over on Watson Street and is a big fan of Cafe Alto. And I've been to Cafe Alto a few times. I think they do some food pop-ups there as well.
Really? Wait, where is that? Remind me, Jer.
So remember where New Order used to be? The giant one? And then a bunch of it got taken over by a real estate office?
Yes.
Just the front part is a coffee shop, which is, it's the perfect size for what they're trying to do. I mean, I like the sprawl of New Order, but it was big, and I imagine the rent was pretty high.
That was probably the case. I always think of it as just a real estate place, but I have gotten coffee there. So yes, I've tried it. I recall it was pretty good.
So yeah, tons of places on this National Coffee Day.
Well, we have coffee. I mean, heck, Jer, we are definitely a coffee capital. We're very spoiled in Detroit and in Dearborn to have all these amazing coffee shops. And so I just encourage people to try as many as they can. Support local. Starbucks will always be there, but give a small business, give a one-off coffee shop a chance.
Well, I'm working on a project, right? And whenever I end up where I'm working on some sort of like building project, I always end up at Brooks Lumber over in Corktown. And it reminded me that if you want these local places to succeed, you got to patronize them. I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, I'm so sad it's closed. I never went there,
Exactly, Jer. I mean, yeah, you can't be sad if something closes when you weren't supporting it as much. So please check them out. give them your money, tip well. They deserve it. We need great coffee shops. We can't let the big guys win. We need these small coffee shops because that's where you get the best coffee. But, it requires people to work there, and it requires the ability to have space in good places, which can be expensive. So they need all the help they can get. There's programs out there for small businesses to help out. Motor City Match, you mentioned. Neighbor Hub program, Jared, great. Thanks for teeing that up for me. The Neighbor Hub program is now live, so small businesses in Detroit can go there and apply for a $15,000 grant for their business, and maybe we'll see some coffee shops out of that.
There you go. That third place is so important. And we are done for today. If you've got ideas, did we miss your favorite coffee shop? dailydetroit@gmail.com, 313-789-3211. Would love to hear from you. I am now very inspired the next time I run up Woodward to go to Drifter. Again, clear and far away, our listeners' favorite on this one. So definitely going to have to check that out. With that, I am Jer Stays.
And I am Devon O'Reilly.
Thank you so much for listening to your Daily Detroit. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around town.